Hey guys, and welcome back to Axonon Gamers.
Today we are doing our follow-up on our Summer Backlog challenge. So we're gonna talk about the games we beat or at least played. So let's get to it.
Right, so I guess I'll start first. I'm not sure who started last time, but let's just go this way.
Yeah.
So first off, I didn't finish all my games, unlike a certain person here. But I figured I'd at least talk about the game I did beat and also what I did play of the two other games that I decided I want to play on this for this challenge.
Absolutely. I think that this is something we could do with our old bucket list video as well, if
Yeah,
anybody's
we really
interested.
do that.
Even if we don't finish games, there's always so much to talk about after having at least tried them. And in my case, many times play them like a huge chunk, even if I did not finish the games, which I did this time though. So
Yeah.
cool. Which game do you want to start with?
Well,
Or should
I wanted to. Yeah, which one did I finish? So,
Yeah, right.
instead, it would be the question. Yeah, well, like I said in our last video, I started playing Daigyakuten Saiban, which is
Yeah.
the great Ace Attorney. Well, it's the unofficial localized name, right?
Yes.
Japan exclusive Ace Attorney game, which I found was a fantastic experience. It really brought it back to the very first Ace Attorney game, a lot with the way they build up the characters and
Right.
the exact same charm that they put into the writing in that game was very present in this game. And I know a lot of people had probably been worried about, including Sherlock Holmes and
Yeah,
other
sure.
fictional characters that don't belong in the universe, but they do it very well in this game. And of course, they put their own spin on these characters while incorporating, what the essence of those characters really are from the original concept.
I'm sure the writing is super good in those games, and I mean, because it is, I'm sure they can take like any character and make it work. They did a game with Layton,
Yeah.
and that worked absolutely fine. And
Right.
also, one thing I've been thinking about is that all the games we had so far, we had 3 games with Phoenix Wright, and then a game with another character, Apollo Justice, which also featured Phoenix Wright, but there you had a new character, but it was still kind of like the same world.
Right.
And eventually 2 spin-off with both of those characters. But other than that, we had the spin-off with Layton, which also was with Phoenix Wright, and the Miles Edgeworth games were also with like a character that's a major part of the old games. So going into Daigyakuten Saiban, which is completely new for like the first time ever in a series with already like seven games.
Yeah. It's
7 games with always like something you can relate to. It's really cool that they made something entirely new and still made it as good as seems like you thought it was.
Definitely. So, I mean, it's also one of my concerns with the games because they don't reuse any of the old characters, but
Yeah.
you can definitely feel that they're rethreading a lot of the characters.
Right.
It's almost like a refresh on the whole series because the new Naruhodo
Yeah.
is very close to the old one,
I-
like both in terms of how unsure he is of himself and like how he has to step up to
Yeah,
the
sure.
challenge and his
I've
reactions.
seen that. It's pretty cool. I don't know if this is a spoiler. I don't hope so. But like he's related to Phoenix, right? Like
He
ancestor or
is,
something.
he is,
Yeah,
but
cool.
they did not mention that in the game yet. I
Yeah.
mean, they haven't really
I see.
touched on it. But from what I understand, yeah, he is.
Yeah, maybe in the sequel.
Yeah, but
Who
I
knows?
do feel it's a bit strange that Phoenix seems so unrelated to the whole profession as a lawyer.
Oh yeah.
when he has a predecessor that actually has been a lawyer before.
Right. So the protagonist, what's his name, Ryunosuke?
Yeah,
So he's actually good at this.
Yeah, he gets good. So
Okay, cool.
it's a very one of the core things about this story. I must say, I really enjoy the story. A lot less filler in this game
Right.
than most other Ace Attorneys. I think one chapter was a bit filler-ish,
Okay.
but I did enjoy it.
That's
regardless.
definitely expected from the Phoenix Wright games.
Right.
So-
You have to have at least
so,
one
I mean,
chapter.
If you
that's-
say you only had one, I mean that's still fairly
Yeah.
good for the series.
You know what? It could have been 2.
Yeah.
And a lot of it just ties together so neatly. That's one of strongest points about this, that it has an ongoing story, which you don't really notice it at first, but towards the conclusion, you see everything build up to the ending. And
I think from Ace Attorney 4 and onwards, they really like started to make those games more connected to themselves, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like the story as a whole within the game itself was a lot more connected than the first 3 games, where like you had one case and then when you went to the next one, it was like completely separate.
Yeah, it was
stories,
very separate. But in the case of this game, there are some really great chapters. What were we discussing before we went into this again? Ryunosuke and his...
Well, his skill, right?
Right.
How he got good.
So yeah, there's a very good thing with Ryunosuke as a character, where you see him build up from a rookie character into somebody who's more confident,
That's
which
cool.
is one of the main threads and concepts, or themes I should say, for this game. And it was very, very enjoyable to see why he went into the profession as a lawyer. And you
Awesome.
can really get attached to it because you're in from it, like from the start. You understand how he thinks and why he wants to continue this wish of becoming a lawyer.
Right.
So yeah, it's very emotionally investing to see why he's doing
cool.
what he does.
I like that detail because fans of Apollo Justice, like myself, I mean, I prefer his stories over the originals. I really like that character, and he had the potential of being just like Ryunosuke, because he starts off as this rookie, and he gets good, but he also has like this science fiction element to his bracelet. So
Yeah.
so I'm happy they finally made this character who I hope like is legit.
Yeah, right.
and more true to actually being a lawyer, which all the games are about. So
Right, Ryosuke is more down to earth, I'd
Yep.
say, and there's a lot of aspects when you're not in court. Most of the time you spend in court, but you also do the investigation parts with
Right.
Sherlock Holmes.
classic.
And there's this really, it's this specific system for these games where you team up with Holmes and you have to basically, what would you call it? You speculate over what could happen in a case. So
Yeah, that's so cool.
So Sherlock Holmes starts pointing out and reasons his own way through what could have happened, and then comes to a wrong conclusion.
Oh.
And then what Ryunosuke has to do is he had to go in there and correct his mistakes to get to the right conclusion.
That's such a nice twist on Sherlock, because he usually just aces it all.
Right. So
but you are the ace attorney, so,
Oh,
so you
yes.
actually
You're
that's amazing.
you're the ace reasoner in this case.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
definitely, it's a very nice touch. Sherlock Holmes as a character as well is probably, I feel, is probably one of the best characters in the whole Ace Attorney series by now.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I just looked at his artwork, and I mean, he looks really.
Yeah,
cool.
he looks fantastic.
I love his
from
style.
his design to his personality. They do so many funny things in this game with the animations as well for the characters.
Right.
Because it's very common in Ace Attorney that they try to use the limited animations for comedic effect, and
sure.
a lot of the sound effects
with like the screen shaking.
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything.
and the blings and the booms and yeah. And I think Sherlock Holmes gets most of the best ones from that, and he has a lot of great poses that just matches.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, he's hilarious. He has
Very
some
cool.
of the best reactions to everybody else's shocks. So like, if somebody's shocked, he always does something like really flashy, like shakes his head, like no problem,
Awesome.
I got this.
Really cool.
It's very fun. But overall, I think there's so many good characters in this this iteration of Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
I think I'd refer to it as
Because
iteration.
less filler must also mean better characters, right?
Right, because
They will be like returning, because there's not like
That's
in
true.
the
They did
previous
that.
games they go far off to do something very very like filler-ish. So when you remove that, I'm sure the better characters are returning a lot more.
That's what they did a lot.
so
It's
yeah,
a
that's
very
cool.
good thing you brought up, because
Awesome.
they do bring a lot of familiar characters, like the characters that you meet from the first chapter
Yeah, super
might
good.
come up later in the game as well. And
Incredible.
they have like a limited amount of 3D models, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess it takes a lot of time and effort to make those 3D animations, but they
might,
use
might,
it to a good
might as well
effect.
use what you have. I mean, if you're gonna
Yeah.
make a game, I've seen it. It's real beautiful too.
Yep.
And has a lot of like good cinematics. So they might
Definitely,
use their
definitely.
space well. And if as you say, Sherlock has more animations and stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely reuse the characters, and I think that's just a good thing. So
Right.
very cool.
I think for people who like to invest time in very good characters, and they've already played the first Ace Attorney games, new characters like Susato and Yunosuke and Holmes and like all the others, they're really, really great. And
Awesome.
I definitely think everybody will get a kick, and especially to see how far they're pushing all these limits, like the assets and stuff.
Yeah, nice.
It's a simple game, but it has a lot of heart, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Especially towards the end, they did have a very strong conclusion, and they started wrapping up a lot of interesting topics into
Cool.
into the cases that you didn't think would belong there in the first place. But yeah, the threads all
Sounds-
align in the end.
Sounds great. I know there's a sequel,
There is.
and I heard the ending to the first one is really, really good.
Oh yeah,
So,
I didn't know if I wanted to touch on that.
No,
but,
it's cool. It's cool. Let's keep it spoiler free. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, obviously you are gonna play the sequel.
Yeah,
but,
I'm looking
but-
forward to it immensely.
Yeah. So cool. Looking
Yeah,
forward to
but
that.
yeah, to be continued on that one because that's what the game says. In
Yeah,
the end.
perfect.
Oh.
The game's Dai Gyakuten Saiban, or The Great Ace Attorney, which it's known as on the internet. There's also a fan translation going on. I'm not sure how far they've come. I know you can play episode 1 and 2 because they released the fan translation for the beginning of the game if you want to try it out. Or you can watch the entire game on YouTube. I know. So there's that, but the game will probably not be released here anytime soon. So
I'm crossing my fingers for a Switch port.
yeah,
Because it's on
Who knows?
iOS now, and Capcom has promised that they will make some sort of Ace Attorney ports from old games.
that's true. We
So-
heard about that a while ago and haven't heard anything yet. So maybe they have been working on it all this time. That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's hope for that.
There's nothing to lose because there's no reason not to translate these games.
Yeah.
They're still gonna hold up in English as well.
Awesome stuff.
One last thing then,
Yeah.
I have to add. I think my favorite chapter in the whole game was chapter 2.
Okay. Cool.
So if you want a good chapter and the chapter's already translated,
That's great to
Then,
hear that
I
you
mean,
can actually play the good part.
yeah, you can
Awesome.
play that and make up your mind if you want to play it. It's very close to the beginning as well.
Sweet. I might actually do just that.
Ah, sweet. Well, there you go.
Super.
All right. So I don't know. I got nothing else to say about this game. I do, but
Yeah.
I think we'll keep it short and just stop there.
Sure. My first game I finished is a game I love. It's now one of my favorite games in what I think is my favorite series. It's pretty cool. A new friend of ours who doesn't know us like too well when it comes to the games and everything. We were talking about favorite series. And she said something like, "Oh, isn't this your favorite series?" And I was starting to wonder myself, like, I think it is.
Yeah.
Ao no Kiseki, Trails to Azure, which was the name of the fan translation I played. Just showing it for whatever reason. Well, the game is incredible. It's probably the best I played so far in the Trails series. I heard very good things of Trails in the Sky SC, which I'm getting around to eventually. I'm halfway, like 35 hours into FC.
That's good.
Evolution on my Vita. It's a really, really cool game as well. But the great thing about Ao no Kiseki that I'm going to talk about is that Zero no Kiseki, which is the prequel to this game, had a great story going on, great gameplay. It felt improved to what I had played of Trails in the Sky back then. But it's this very, very nice mix of visual novel and JRPG. And the turn-based battle system is one of the best I know, like ever in the genre. It's so good because you need to consider spacing as well as your turns, and you combine that with getting extra buffs on particular turns. And there's a lot of strategy. It almost looks like a tactical RPG when in combat sometimes because of how you need to think about where you move your characters and stuff. But it's at the end of the day, it is a turn-based JRPG.
Right.
But the greatest part of the series as a whole, and this game in particular, was the story and the characters. This game, just a very vague comparison, but I compared the Trail series to Game of Thrones, which is a very long ongoing series we have here in the West. with returning characters. And just this lore that's getting bigger and bigger and better, especially better. That's
the greatest part of it.
That's the word I'm looking for here, because they keep making new games with new protagonists.
Yeah.
And even though they make these like brand new games with new protagonists in new lands with new towns and everything, old characters keep returning, and like twists and secrets from previous games that were not like the main story gets solved or like mentioned.
Yeah, they're
in the
highlighted
sequels.
a lot.
It's very cool, very cool. And while I think Zero no Kiseki was a great game on its own, it did not end with a cliffhanger, which I heard like many other trails does. Cold Steel did, and I heard FC does as well. Zero did not, and still Ao no Kiseki managed to start with this great intro, like really good intro, and from there it kept reintroducing the characters from the first game. New characters, returning characters, and also brand new characters, which I thought was really cool. Like families to some of the core members of the game, which like there's one particular character in the first game that I love myself. His name is called he's called Randy, and he was like this mysterious guy almost, because he was always really strong in the first game and you never knew why. So they expanded on him really much in Ao, where you got to like see more of his origins and stuff. And it's just so good that they make all these great stories while maintaining like the real main story of the game, because it has like this bigger story that it's all about, but at the same time, without having to deal with side quests if you don't want to, it still has this lot of like subplots that are all really connected and super important at the end of the day.
So I feel
it's incredible.
I gotta add this
really.
because I feel like this is a big either a big plus or a big minus with the Trail series in general.
Yeah.
So what the Trail series does a lot is that it doesn't leave any facts unsolved or left behind. So if you have a character in this game, there's 100% chance that it's gonna like involve something like really major within the story for them.
It's really incredible, even if they are NPCs or if they are like previous boss fights or anything. The world is so fleshed out, and there's a lot to read, a lot of side quests, and transferring your save will add new dialogue to the side quests, which is also like really cool.
It's very unique for a JRPG to do those kind of things in general.
Absolutely.
I think just Golden Sun comes close, but but then again, the levels between what Trails does and what the Golden Sun did.
Yeah, what's so incredible is that
big.
In Golden Sun, like you could transfer some of the gameplay aspects, but in here it's really like changes the dialogue, and it's super cool. Excellent game. It was like 60 hours long. The final boss was really difficult. I had to fight him twice. The first attempt was like almost an hour, and I died, so I had to do it all over again. The second attempt was a bit faster, but still really lengthy. It was one of those fights where you had to like play really defensive. So
take some time, but you get
grand finale, like really cool stuff. Some of the things that when I finished Zero no Kiseki, and I was thinking to myself like, I hope I get to know about like these 3 or 4 things in Ao. I really hoped for that, because I know the story continues in Cold Steel 3 and 4 especially. So I didn't know if I would like get to hear the resolve of these particular things I really wanted to hear about. And they were not mentioned in like the main story, because the game has its own story, right? But they started popping up like as these subplots I was talking about. And so like when I finished the game, I was so satisfied, because I had got to learn about everything I wanted to. The gameplay really was expanded from Zero, where they added some things in battle. You had the burst, which is also present in Cold Steel 2, where you can activate bursts and you get like a couple of more turns. So the enemy turns from the grid gets removed. So it's just a bunch of turns for your party. it's kind of like your nuke. It's really really cool. For people who have not played these games, I'm not sure what else I can say that would make sense. But if you played Cold Steel 1 and 2, and maybe Trails in the Sky, do yourself a favor and get yourself a copy of Zero no Kiseki and Ao no Kiseki and play them, because I absolutely think Ao no Kiseki is the best so far. And you know, I learned so much about Trails in the Sky in Ao no Kiseki that I'm thinking about the twists, and like the gameplay wasn't as good in those games. So I'm having a hard time thinking one of those would surpass Ao. But we'll see when I play SC. I don't know. But Ao was incredible, and the only like downside would be that there's a lot of text.
Yeah.
So if you're coming into this game wanting like a great JRPG and you're not like a fan of visual novels, I don't know, because the graphics are kind of old. They really are.
Yep.
And there's so much dialogue. Like it's kind of crazy.
The games really spoil you.
Yeah.
I remember when I played these and I had to go back to like some other games, especially like, you know, okay, well, Pokemon is a big stretch.
Yeah.
But I went back to a very much more simpler, more traditional JRPG, and I remember how like I felt almost cheated because I didn't get enough information, enough text. Like, where's all the text? I want to read a visual novel.
It's incredible. Now, when I play some games after like a boss fight, I just want to go and save, you know, and like go to my next thing in the story. But in this game, they will always say like, "Oh, that was a tough fight," and they will go on and on and on for so long. But it's cool. Like, it might sound like a negative, but it's actually really fleshes out the characters.
It definitely does.
And yeah, there are so many instances where like in these scenes where they say like, "Oh, that was tough," like another guy pops in.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, I saw you fighting," and
and then the progress, the story progresses in a fun way.
It's incredible, really.
It's unconventional, but you appreciate it.
Yep, sure
Definitely.
do. There's a New Game Plus mode, which doesn't really add anything in this version. The Vita remake of the game I have right here. In this one, I heard that New Game Plus adds like a couple of more bosses or something.
That's cool.
Which is kind of unfortunate because this the version I played had like a rough translation. Now there's a fantastic translation out there. I highly suggest like all of you, if you're gonna play this game, like even if you know like a bit of Japanese, I don't know, the translation is so good that you can get it for PC even. The Chinese PC version is also translated with the same script. So play it on PC, on PSP, whichever way you want. I played it on my Vita. The PSP version. But yeah, such a good game. But about that New Game Plus, I was thinking like maybe I should play New Game Plus with the new translation.
Yeah,
right? That would be super.
If you could find a save file for it.
Yeah,
that would be neat.
No, but I would use my own save file in just New Game Plus, you know. But the thing is, the extra content from the Vita version, that's kind of what I want to wait for.
Yeah, that's what you want.
So maybe I should like wait if they someday translate the Vita version.
So here's what we can do, just to make a pact right here in front of the camera.
Right.
When I finish my game file, you can have my game file, and we'll see what we can do with that. Maybe you can use my save file and then continue playing from that.
Because Mario is playing the Vita versions.
Right. I started playing that game a long time ago, but sadly I never finished it. We got very close to. I got really close to the final parts. Senkai, you should know.
Yeah, right. There's this. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the number of the chapter, but there's one chapter where so much things are going on. Like it's really cool. That's where like a majority of the game actually takes place.
Right. This is like it feels like everything else, like the whole game up to that point was just like a prelude chapter. And then all of a sudden it goes out of bound, and you're like, wait, where am I right now? Because everything just changes up so much.
That's the end of the game, but it's also like a third's left or something. It's really cool.
So I'm very interested to see what that goes. But what I did was, I feel like I should pay a lot of respect to this series, because for once it's one of the series that sort of defines my Japanese studying period.
Sure, absolutely.
And I wanted to back when I read it, I think how long time ago was it? Maybe more than a year. Maybe a year or so.
Yeah.
And where I stopped, I felt like I wasn't as good in Japanese like I am now.
Right.
And so I really want to replay it with my new knowledge, because I feel like even the first game, I want to go through like the whole Kiske series just from 1 till the last one, because this month, Sen no Kiseki 4 is going to come out, which is just Cold Steel
so
4.
huge.
Yeah, so what I just felt like I really need to take it from the beginning again, and I'm talking about first chapter of Trails in the Sky.
Right.
And I want to just blow through all the games, and I feel like I can do it now with, you know, extensive knowledge.
Yeah.
And I feel it's more fun this way too, because I want to pick up on all the details. I don't want to miss out on something just because I have a scummy translation going on in my brain, you know?
Right.
Even though I did translate pretty well, I feel.
I think you got the most of it. Like,
Right.
I finished Zero no Kiseki, the prequel to AO, which I played now. That game I played both on PSP and the Vita, because some dude managed to put the like PSP translation into the Vita game.
Yeah,
so I played both versions, and I feel like they add a significant amount in the Vita versions in terms of like graphics, like artwork. You have these like CG scenes for some very memorable scenes in the game.
Yep.
And if you're gonna replay the games like on the Vita, starting from FC, which I'm playing right now, I think you're gonna have so much fun with that, because even if you played it before, you're gonna get so much new stuff from it. So it's really, really cool.
Actually, maybe I should continue on with my next game from here, because I didn't play much of it, but
Yeah.
I did play first chapter.
Yeah.
It was one of those games where I think I promised I wanted to play Trails of Cold Steel or Sen no Kiseki, but I decided to go with first chapter because, like I said, I felt like let's just take everything from the beginning, because Sen no Kiseki 4 feels like it's this accumulation from all the things that are happening in this world, with this Game of Thrones world.
Yeah.
So basically,
exactly.
I mean, why would you want to miss out on the details? I feel like it's the most
Right.
important part to just take from the start. I already beat first chapter a long time ago, back when Exceed localized this game into English.
Yeah.
I played first chapter on the PSP, and I really enjoyed it. Sadly, though, I had to wait such a long time for second chapter to come out, and by the time the English one came out, I think it's not like the interest wasn't there. It's just I was doing other things, and it was only on PC. I was playing on the PSP.
Yeah, that's true.
So I did not get around playing it, even though I had a lot of anticipation for it, and I really liked how the first game ended and what it led up to.
Yeah.
But I feel like I should give it a new shot on the Vita. The Vita version has voice acting for one, rearranged soundtracks and everything.
Absolutely.
And I
It's
felt
so
like
good. It's really, really good.
Definitely, it's very, very nice. It's so convenient. I decided just to go back to that because, yeah, I wanted to take it from the start, and I played it through the first prologue chapter,
Yeah.
just about, and it's great. I feel that just like Senkai said, the older games aren't as polished. I do enjoy both Ao no Kiseki and Zero no Kiseki. That's say Trails to Azure and Trails to Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, much better in the gameplay department and the music department.
And also,
Actually, in
and
all
also like
departments.
something I wanted to mention that I've been thinking about for weeks,
Go for
for
it.
months now about AO is comparing to first chapter and Trails of Cold Steel is the team of 4.
Yeah,
Like a team of 4 in RPGs. We had
that's
that.
unusual.
We had that kinda in Persona 4 as well.
Yeah, in
Kinda.
the beginning, I guess.
But
I-
there's that's a topic, and like back then when I first thought about it, I was thinking about how good that is, and I like would come up with some other games that did the same thing. Now I'm not gonna sit here and think for too long, but just a more like compact
A
team.
solid party, yeah.
Yeah, solid party of characters. Fewer characters, but like I don't want to say better characters, but they get more time, not just to be more fleshed out themselves, but they get to spend more time together. Because when you pick your own party, and in some games you get like different dialogue, or to just make sense, some of them have to leave for a chapter
That's true.
and then come back. But in Zero and Ao no Kiseki, you have this group, and they spend the whole game together.
Yep.
And it's just
It does a lot too.
It's incredible.
Like as a game mechanic, you know, in the core, when you fight a battle, it's very useful to know exactly what kind of abilities those four main characters
and
have as well.
the RPG elements are so much more fun when you can like level up a character and get the right like spells for that character,
Sure, yeah.
and know that they will stick around.
Yeah, yeah. You
For a
can rest
longer
easy
time.
with Trails, like with the Trail series, or well, especially with Zero.
Yeah.
You can rest easy that those four characters are gonna stay there as your permanent members. You know, they're on the box. They're not going anywhere. They're gonna stick in that cartridge.
Exactly. In AO you had some more characters, but I mean the main four were like the ones you want to use because.
Right. I did not feel that the other characters, the additional characters, got as much story-wise.
No, not at all.
They did get attention. I'm not saying that they're completely left out, but
I would say they are fan service.
yeah. True that.
But at the same time, because they were characters you wanted to play in the first game.
Yeah.
You did like they were guest characters in the first game, so now you can actually play as them a lot more. However, not just being fan service, they connect to the older games.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
gonna
that-
talk more about that.
They
but
connect
that's
to the
really,
world
really cool.
instead.
Yeah,
So
really,
the,
really cool.
the four main characters are the four main characters for the game, but the
Yeah.
rest of them connect to the world. Well,
Really cool.
politically or just any way you can think of.
Yes. So you played the first chapter.
I feel it's great. I'm glad to be back in the barrel again.
Yeah.
But like I said, it leaves a bit to be desired. Even though it's an updated Vita port, I do feel like they stripped off a few specific things from the newer games that I did like. Like
Yeah.
the UI doesn't feel as polished, and the overall graphics don't feel as, you know, they don't hit home as well. They don't have the detail. They don't cram out as much.
The extras are nice.
Yeah.
But like the game itself, what's there, except the extras, is just kind of bare bones compared to the other games. Still, really good dialogue.
Yeah.
You can see why the other games are so good because it came from this.
Yeah,
Like this
it
is the
branched off from
original.
there.
This is the original, and it was already like extremely good. You don't see that kind of dialogue in any other any other game. I want to say like
Yeah,
not
it's
just
hard to
RPG, but
So that's one of the things what I did in this version of the game, because I just wanted to go and talk to everybody in the village.
Yeah.
You and I played Dragon Quest 11 today,
right.
and the first thing we wanted to do instinctively was to walk around the town and talk to all the villagers, but you never got as much out of it as you did in Trails in the Sky,
No.
because there's so much information and so many different types of characters. Like, you know, they have personalities.
They talk about each other,
Yeah.
and they keep coming back and like.
And they talk about the main characters as if they know them very well as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
that
you
too.
feel very at home with these characters.
Many times in Trails in the Sky, you run up to an NPC, and when you interact to them, instead of like you get the bubble in every other RPG with what they have to say, when you press like cross on your PlayStation, instead it shows a bubble of your own character saying like hi or something.
Right.
How are you doing? Which is really cool for an RPG where you interact with an NPC you never seen before. For your own characters to actually say something that kind of blew my mind, because I'm playing that game now, and there's also a scene like in chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the third chapter. I'm still talking about the first game, but the third chapter in the first Trails in the Sky. So what I'm talking about is that you're in this like kind of big city for once. It's really cool, and you run into like a guy from the first part of the game, from one of the side quests. And if I were not to like remember this, you have the main character Estelle, who's like a bit of a airhead.
Yeah.
So she like didn't really remember this, but then you have Joshua, who is really
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
Yeah. So for the player, it was like you saw this guy and you might or might not remember
Yeah,
him.
so you're either an Estelle or a Joshua in
Yes,
this case.
but regardless, the player got it explained, and it was almost like Falcon bragged, because it was like, oh look, here's this guy from the first chapter.
We'll show you what we can do here with the writing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So yeah, but definitely there's a lot of volume to the writing.
Yeah.
There's a thing where I didn't notice this when I first played it on the PSP, but if you go to the clock tower, Estelle reacts to it
Yeah.
in a special way. So yeah, not to go into that in too much detail either, but yeah, so there's a lot of very nice detail towards upcoming events as well. If you just walk around the town, and there's a lot of very fun side
Right.
quests and such.
In Trails in the Sky, you don't have to like interact to things to trigger a scene. Sometimes you just have to go to a place, like
Right.
not mentioned in a objective or quest, but you would do it naturally. It's like, I want to check this out, so you check it out and you trigger a cutscene.
Yeah,
It's
suddenly,
really,
like, you don't even expect it. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing about the Trail series.
Really-
It's a lot of interaction.
really cool.
Like
Very,
different kind of
very,
interaction.
very good. And these, like, all we said so far about Zero, OW, first chapter, all of that was in OW.
Yeah, it applies
And
everywhere.
and I just want to wrap up my talk about OW. But all the great things you heard so far was part of OW, and why I thought it was so amazing. Like,
Cool. Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
So-
it was like the perfect, because the things I liked about Cold Steel so much were in OW as well.
Yeah. How do you feel about that when going back to
the
it? Like,
burst system, like I mentioned earlier, and also the master quartz, because you have quartz in Trails,
those are good.
where you like mix and match to get new spells. In Cold Steel, you have the master quartz, which is like a separate customizable thing that changes your character more than just giving you new spells.
Attribute wise.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. But that was actually in OW, not in Zero, but it was in OW. And I was like, okay, so this is like the perfect Trails, because I had everything I wanted, so.
Yeah, I was definitely a better, were a nice upgrade mechanically from Zero. Because
Yeah.
they added a few more things that made it very pleasant. Was the rush mechanic in the first Zero? The first Zero no Kiseki?
Yes, it was in both.
Oh yeah, it was. It just
the-
had the new mugshots.
Yeah, it
in
was
the-
called Team Rush. You would get it like every time you attack an enemy from behind to get the surprise attack.
Yeah.
You would start with one round of critical hit and then Team Rush,
Yeah.
or Team Rush right away. And what it does is that the whole party takes one turn to like
Annihilate the enemy
go crazy.
completely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But yeah, I have to mention, I did keep one promise though. I didn't start with the Trails of Cold Steel. I started with the Trails in the Sky first chapter, but I did play it on the hardest difficulty, which was the whole
Right.
promise. With
That's something you really talked about in the video. That's true.
So, and I did enjoy that immensely, but the game
Very
is
good.
still very easy.
yeah.
And I don't know how it is further in, but it's very easy from what I
think
played.
I'm playing on hard, because sometimes it's
You
really
think?
hard. I don't know. I've first chapter,
Yeah.
Trails in the Sky. I've been trying to look, because I can't see anywhere. I'm going to like the save screen, to the options. Can't see anywhere what difficulty I'm playing.
No, not even the
Because
save
I started
feature.
that game way back, just for fun, just to try it out, and then we got like this massive fan translation, or rather, it's a official translation. They took the PC
Yeah.
official translation and put it into the Vita version, so it's actually not a fan translation.
Essentially, what the guy did with the Zero translation when he put the what was it you said?
Yeah, he took the already fan translated version from the PSP.
Yeah,
into
to the Vita.
version.
Yeah, so it's the
Yeah,
same.
so
but
the Vita scene, just quick mentioning, the Vita hack scene is
Yeah,
on
oh,
fire. It's on fire.
it's crazy right now. It's been doing good for us though. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna complain.
it's incredible. All the good games are coming out
Yeah,
for us.
my
so.
Vita is packed with great stuff right now.
Awesome.
Right. I'm glad we took these two games out at the same time because they're sort of connected.
Yeah, sure.
I hope to keep playing it though.
Yeah,
For
they
my-
were
for me
both
at least.
Trails. I'm gonna play it as well. So I mean, this is cool because we could technically finish it like at the same, not the same time, but you know the same.
yeah, the same
time.
period,
Yeah,
sort of.
same period.
Yeah.
And at that time, if you enjoyed our Trails discussion, we'll make another one.
We'll make a weekly Trails discussion every week, Mondays. No,
We'll-
not at all. But that would be fun.
we probably could. There's so much to talk
Yeah,
about.
there's way too many. details.
Apparently, so much to talk about. So
But yeah, my biggest dream though for this, I want to say this, is I really want to do that thing where I string all the games together. If I
Yeah.
could, like, so what I've been doing, why I haven't finished my backlog, I might as well say, the backlog challenge, is that I was so busy watching so many animes, and I was busy
Right.
drawing, and
yeah.
but all those, okay, so those animes really good. I don't mind watching them instead, but you know, if I take that time and focus it on only the games, I really want to just string through all the games together, and if I can do that,
Yeah.
then I'm pro, then I'm done. Because
Yeah,
the fourth game is coming.
just thinking, like, all the trails, that would be 500 hours, maybe 300 hours. I don't know.
And if you add and I take a lot longer to read them.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's see, 1,000 hours. Yeah, I got that.
Cool. Yeah, we got those.
So that's what I mean. You guys have to wait a bit for our weekly Trails podcast, but until then, I mean, 1,000 hours. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Right. So who's gonna go next? I guess you're up next.
Yeah,
again.
let's get this out of the way, and then
Falcom.
we're done with Falcom. I played Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana once again, this time on PS4, and I finished this game when it came out on the Vita, or when it was only out on the Vita, not when it was released, but I finished it way before it was even announced for the PS4, and it was such a fantastic Vita exclusive. And for the longest time, I was kind of like bashing this version because I felt like it did the game a disservice, like looking so ported, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
When it was still within the launch period of the game. So this was like still a modern title. It's not a port of an old game.
No.
But still it looks kind of old on the PS4 because it's a Vita game, and
Definitely.
over here they market the game as a PS4 game that also has a Vita version. It's kind of weird because it's a game made for the Vita and it was perfect as that. However, I was pleasantly surprised to say that this version I think is the better version now, and the Switch version is based on this. So if you bought the game on Switch, you can rest easy when I say I prefer this version because it's the same. They added so in this game you play through like half of the game with Adol. It's this like kind of Metroid-ish exploration style of game, which is new for the E series. It was really cool. You build up your base, you explore the island, and then suddenly the main story takes focus again, and it's about Dana and Adol, and it switches back and forth. And you actually get to play as Dana. And those parts where you play as Dana are separate from all your progression with Adol. So the whole island thing, you can forget about that. The segments with Dana are like preset level, preset equipment, and they're more like challenges because you play through this like day as Dana in her life. And those were what they were on the Vita because like you couldn't there was no like RPG elements really, which is some of the best thing about Ys. But in PS4, in this version, she actually has different forms and stuff. She can transform, and it changes up. She has like new attacks and a lot of new stuff. And if you really enjoyed that, and you thought that her combat was like really, really good, and you wanted to play with her even more, they actually added a dungeon for her as well. Yeah. So every time you went back to that that time period in the game where you play as Dana, you can go back to this dungeon, and it's a lot of levels. It's like this. You go down a
dungeon crawler.
Yeah, it's a dungeon crawler kind of. And so the first story event with Dana, you can only like go one floor or two floors, but every time you go back, you get the new story with Dana, which is really good, and the expanded gameplay, but then you also realize, like, before I go back to Adol, let's check that dungeon once more.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And it's really, really nice, because when you're, like, getting further and further into that, you also gain levels, and they made the system so the dungeon has its own currency, and its own shop, so in there you can buy stuff that, like, also makes her segments easier. Because they were kind of hard on the Vita, because you couldn't really, like I said, there was not a lot of RPG elements. So if you were playing on Nightmare, which I do,
would get troublesome.
It's as hard as it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. But in this version, you can like go to the dungeon and farm potions and stuff. So that helps. That helps.
Tip the famous roadside.
Yeah, really, really cool. And also, like, when you finally meet her in the game, which you do, I hope you know. I'm sorry if I spoil you. And these things, like, I don't think they carried over, but you can always go back and, like, do those things.
So you'd get the preset equipment for Dana when you meet her?
Yeah, I think so.
From the Vita version, then?
And she was actually, like, down-leveled.
Oh,
just
wow.
to scale with the rest of the cast.
I see.
But you do get some extra story in this dungeon.
Yeah.
And if you finish that, going on with the rest of the story with Adol and Donna, knowing this actually made it a bit better, I would say.
That's really cool.
The vast majority of the game after that is about Donna, really, because she's like she's the game is named after her.
Yeah.
And she's really, really important. And the added story in this version, while it wasn't necessary, I think it was really, really good. I like it. I like it. I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised because I would say the Vita version was one of my favorites. Like on that console, I love my Vita. I play a lot on it. But Ys 8 was always like my gem on that console.
Right.
It was my favorite Vita game. And now I'm like, I don't know, play it on the Switch if you can, or PS4. I thought it was good. I also mentioned in our previous video that they retranslated the game. And like I can't compare because I played like 10-15 hours with the old one, and then I continued from there. So I never saw the same scene twice with these different translations. But everything from when I picked the game up was really good. Like,
Yeah.
So
I mean, they started patching out a lot of things as fast as they could, and hopefully, I mean, it worked out for the better. I know.
Yeah,
we
really
saw
good.
a lot of really poorly executed translations.
Yeah, sure,
there,
but in this version it all made sense, and the dialogue was closer to Trail's level.
yeah, that's good. That's
Because
good.
the characters you recruit to your base, they are just like the Trails characters that like you keep talking to them and they keep talking about each other, and it was really good. Ys has never been as close to Trails as it is now, and because of that, I'm really looking forward to Ys 9.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But
Yeah,
I
that's
guess,
a good thing to mention.
Yeah.
Ys 9 is actually in
Yeah,
development
that
now.
was announced, so that's cool. But I guess that's all I should say about Ys 8
Excellent.
today. I have been talking about the game a lot of times on this channel, but it's a phenomenal game, and I'm just so happy that a game I thought was like at its best, because Falcom are just Falcom after all.
Yeah.
They can only do as much as they can do. It was cool to see the game expanded, and not just like extra costumes and stuff, but actually some things that were like, I don't expect this from a re-release, especially with the same name. Like this is just the same game.
Yeah, you could think it's the same game.
Yeah, sure, but
So what if you get the Vita version here in English? You'd get the Japanese Vita version, right? I mean, the content-wise.
you would get the new retranslation with the new voice acting and everything, sure. But it's the Japanese original release, and the original already I thought was so near perfect that I still recommend the game.
Yeah.
If you only have a Vita, and we just talked about the Vita scene and everything, so I mean you could if you have a Vita, if you have a Vita, you can play the game. That's what I'm trying to say. So do that. Even if you have a PS4 and you like you can still play the Vita version, and
It's fun to see how nice it looks on the Vita as well.
Yeah.
It's very optimized for
I
it.
think it looks slightly better on the Vita, because the resolution of all the assets matches the screen.
Right.
It was made to be like watched on this screen, the plants especially and everything. It's like really low res. And then you have the upscaled 3D models on PS4, but everything looks, I don't know. It looks good. It looks really good. It's a beautiful game, but
Very beautiful game, guys. Keep in mind.
But the Vita version looks nice. I like it.
Sure. Yeah.
So
definitely.
that's going back to the Switch. I'm like, maybe that's perfect.
Yeah, that's the
where you
version
had
to play, maybe.
the extra content and on the small screen. I don't know.
I feel so relieved now because after we talked about the Switch release back in our last video,
Yeah.
I actually picked up the Switch version as well.
Right.
So I really want to play that on the Switch, and if I can't play anything on my Switch, I'm just happy.
Yeah.
By this point,
Sure. Fuck.
yeah. But that
Let's not delve any further.
I love Switch. All right. Yeah. So you know what? I have some bad news. I really want to come back to you on and comment on E7. Oh, E8, sorry.
Right.
And I will, but I
Yes.
have to go to work.
Oh, right.
So
Wow.
I'm gonna lift my butt up, and I have my last game I want to talk about, and how I had to replay a certain part of that game.
But you know, if you watch our previous video, that game is Xenogears.
Right. And
Xenogears is one of my favorites. So
right.
I mean, if
This
we're
is
gonna
something
make
we save.
if we're gonna make a video on that, I mean, sure.
I really want to save that
Sure.
discussion because I want
Absolutely.
to bring in Xenoblade as well into this discussion once we've come further. So I've gotten fairly far in the game, but like I said, I had to replay it, sadly. And I'm trying to keep my mouth shut about the game as much as possible for Senkai because I want to have this genuine discussion with him.
Yeah.
So sadly, I won't be able to bring this up right now, and I really
Yeah.
do have to get to work.
It's cool.
But please, Senkai, take over and talk about your final game while I
Yes.
get up and
I
say
I
thanks.
will do just that.
Sorry about this. This is the first time it happens, but you know we dragged on for a while. Thank you so much. I'll be back later.
Bye, Mario.
Bye bye.
I'm gonna cut here, obviously. All right, so that was unfortunate, but yeah. If you're still with me, now I'm gonna talk about Shining Force 2, which I'm so happy I finished. The last game I finished in the Backlog Challenge, and you know, I have some really good things to say about this. But first, I just want to mention that this was a new setup, and like, yeah, I don't know. Should I keep it like this? Whatever. Let's get to it. Well, Shining Force 2, I played on my Sega Mega Drive for like 90 to 95% of the entire game, and the last couple of hours I played on my Vita. Actually, I was able to move the save file from my Mega Drive version of the game to the Vita and play that through something called RetroArch, which you should check out if you're interested. It's an emulator. It's really good. Because I was at the hospital having my daughter and everything, so I had like a couple of minutes here and there to play, and that's where I finished Shining Force 2, so that's a great memory for me. But I started the game on Sega Mega Drive. I remember back when I first played this, it was because of a recommendation from my boss at work who played this as a kid and thought the game was really good, and then I would eventually talk about the game with another friend of mine, Eldon, who also beat the game as a kid, and they're all very nostalgic about this game, and I can see that it's a very charming game. But when I played the more of the game, I realized that it's like, I mean, it's a good game, but it's kind of limited. It's not as fleshed out as say like Final Fantasy VI or other 16-bit games I've played, but it's a tactical RPG, and I really like a lot of things about it because if you think about Fire Emblem, for example, Fire Emblem has like the maps, and then you move on to the next map, but Shining Force has the overworld and towns, so it's more like a JRPG with the overworld and like the moving around and dungeons and stuff, but the battles are like a strategy RPG or a tactical RPG, so it's great like that, and the music's really cool. I thought it was made by Motoi Sakuraba at first, because the game is made by Sonic or Camelot as they're called now. They were called Sonic back in the day. Now they work for Nintendo, so obviously they cannot be called Sonic anymore. But he usually do the music for their games, and he did not make the music for this game, and I could not find really what else this guy made, because some of the songs in Shining Force 2 were actually really good, so I would like to hear some of his music more, but yeah, that's for another time. Well, Shining Force 2, I streamed the majority of the game, actually, capturing from a Mega Drive, playing on the stream, and I'm also happy about that. So I will remember Shining Force 2 as like one of these games that I'm really happy that I played. Even if I didn't think it was like this masterpiece or anything, I really enjoyed the game, but I have so many connected memories to it, which is really nice at the end of the day, and I had people like subscribing to me and keep coming back to my streams just to see if I played Shining Force, and because of that, I'm kind of fortunate that I finished it on my Vita. But yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, and the game is cool because it's kind of cryptic. So it's one of those where it doesn't really tell you where to go at all times. But because you have the overworld and it's kind of old school, like it's not too big, you can take like a couple of trips around the world and talk to people just to find out where to go. So I would never be too stuck. And also like there's this possibility to grind in Fire Emblem, for example, which is the game I'm gonna keep comparing this to in terms of battles. In those games, because you're going from map to map and it constantly progresses, you don't have as much opportunity to grind. But in Shining Force, because you have the overworld, you can actually have battles on the overworld and level up your units. And when you level up the units, eventually you can promote them. And some of the highlights for me on stream when I play the game was that when you promote a unit, their mugshots, which I gotta talk about the mugshots. The character portraits next to the speech bubbles in the game, they are highly detailed. The resolution for Mega Drive was really impressive with these mugshots, and they got the promoted units when you level them up would have new mugshots, and that was really cool. I love that. And also new sprites. The sprites are also very large when you're in combat and you're fighting. They have some really impressive sprites, and those were all new after promotion. And also you had new music. So I remember playing that, and I started promoting my units because I've waited on that. A lot of people said that you could either play the game a bit harder and not promote and get stronger units later for an easier end game. So I did that. So I did play with my unpromoted units for a very, very long time. I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the characters, but the gameplay was kind of slow because it was really hard, and like promotion was like this big thing, which was really, really cool and something you look forward to. But I wouldn't do that for a really, really long time. So there's that. But yeah, I had a blast with the game. The final boss was really cool, and also after the credits you were able to have a boss rush kind of style. Not a boss rush as where you fight all the bosses one after another, but in Shining Force 2 you would face them all on the same map. So it was this final battle with all the bosses, but you had to enter a code. So after the credits you went back and entered a code, and you would start this map. So it was really cool. I did that. I actually finished it first try, so I was really happy about that. There's this character. What's his name? He's called Slade. Slade is the rat character on the cover here at the bottom. He would promote into my favorite unit in the game, and he was really, really strong. And he had this legendary weapon you would get in the last third, like the last act of the game. Super cryptic. Like you had to give mithril. You kept collecting mithril throughout the game. Mithril you would find like behind houses, behind trees, like really rare stuff. And you would hand over these mithril finally, because you kept them for the entire game. And at the end of the game, you would hand them over to a guy, and he would give you random weapons back. Random weapons. So I would soft reset for... I was on the train actually, this was when I played it on the Vita. I would soft reset the game until I got the ultimate weapon for Slade, which took a really, really long time, like an hour probably. And the funny part was when I finally got that, I got the same weapon again on the very next try. I made a save state, so I kind of like wanted to show that to you guys, but I don't know. I might. I'm not sure. But I got it was called the Gizarm, I think. You got the Gizarm, and then I pressed the text bubble. I kept reading, and then I got another one. So it was like kind of weird because you couldn't use more than one. It was exclusive to him, so I equipped it to him, and then I had the other one staying in his inventory just for luck. You know, kind of funny. But yeah. a really cool game. I said in the previous video that I really want to go back and play Shining Force 3, because that's something I tried, but I kind of wanted to play 2 first, as I had it recommended to me from so many people. So Shining Force 3, now I can finally play, and I'm really looking forward to that. Shining Force 3 Part 1, 2, 3. That's gonna be amazing on my Sega Saturn. I will definitely stream that, because I thought my streams with Shining Force 2 were some of the best moments for me with the game. I had a lot of fun playing that game with all the input. This game seems to have a very good community and a lot of loyal fans. So the guys who were watching were really passionate and was talking about different classes and what I should do on the different maps. So kind of cool. Well, this was a really long video, and I hope you enjoyed. We were talking about making another backlog challenge for winter or fall, like maybe make a winter backlog challenge. So that could have been like a surprise and something we did and nobody other did. But I like the community aspect of these videos. So if you're watching this and you hear that and you also feel like, hey, I should make a winter backlog challenge, please do that, because that's something we're gonna do. And I mean, let's make something fun out of it, right? So as always, I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time, get gaming!